Um, just a sec. Yeah. So I hope my screen is visible. Okay. So welcome to Capricorn workshop on Autodesk Construction Cloud Build. Today is the final session of this 4 series of the workshop. So today's topic will be cost management, that is within Autodesk Construction Cloud. How are we managing cost? How are we creating permission and managing cost contracts? And how do we create change orders and manage those change orders in the platform? We'll also see how the tool is able to give us cost forecasting. So today's agenda is that we'll begin with a welcome note for the workshop today. We will talk about the challenges in the construction industry and how ACC will help to solve them, for which we have a guest speaker with us today. We will talk about what is ACC Build overview again for those who are new in the workshop today and have missed the previous session. So we'll just take a initial tour about it. We will talk about then in detail about cost management and final closing of the project. That means the dashboards. How are we working with the project at the project management level? Towards the end of the session, we'll take a question and answer round. So during the session, if anybody has any query, any question, they can put their questions in the Q&A box, and then we'll finally close with a word of thanks to the audience. So why are we having this series of workshop in the times? So now, if I explain that nowadays, again, we are back in the situation where we are stuck at homes and pandemic is, the COVID is back again. So there are a lot of uncertainties that has happened, and most of the construction projects are now again on hold or maybe have slowed down, which happened with us earlier also. So one of the reasons was to use the legacy, the old primitive method in which we were communicating. That is one of the reason why the industry, the AEC industry is slowed down. That means the communication, the geographic displacement of people, not having the same set of environment of working. And all that led to lack of information sharing. They were either communicating through WhatsApp, emails, or phone calls, which created a lot of uh, loss of information in between and also duplication of information in between. So the pandemic by itself has forced us to come with the digital solution wherein we are able to work from our homes and different geographic locations. And it's not just pandemic that we're talking about, even for a global level projects that we say. So we need to have a infrastructure, a digital infrastructure where working from communication becomes easy and working from different locations also become easy. So one very good example that we have is the day-to-day banking never stopped in pandemic. That's because they were had already adopted the technology and were well in advance prepared for such cases. So our intent specifically towards the construction industry is that owners, consultants, and contractors are adopting the technology in their firms. They are adopting the technology. Organizations are trying to come up or make their organization digitally advanced, but are still working in silos. That means we also call it as lonely BIM, building information modeling. That means they still have a information management system which is within their organization and which is not a project based information management where all the stakeholders are on the same platform, which ultimately results in rework and many more challenges which are there with the teams working together. So our objective here is to spread awareness about BIM and also bust myths related to the same. We most of us are not very clear what is building information modeling, how are we working with it, how can we adopt it, and we will also try to show how Autodesk Construction Cloud Build helps in simplifying the managing projects. So the challenges that we'll discuss will spare around how are we also trying to solve them. So before starting with the on with our session today, we would just like to take a small audience poll so that we understand the audience that we have today with us. So I would like to share the audience poll. We'll take 10-15 seconds for the audience to give their responses. Another 5 seconds we'll take. Okay. So if I see the poll, most of us are engineers, architects, and project managers. So that means from all the verticals, there are people in the mixed bunch present today where we can understand that each team requires the platform and how each team can work and contribute to it. So to start with, I would like to call our industry expert, Mr. Harish, who's here with us, and I would like him to explain about the construction cloud and industry challenges. So before that, I would like to introduce Harish sir. He is a resultant driven leader. He is in education a BE civil engineer, a PDCM, a PMI, PMP, and DASSM. He has 3 decades of diverse professional experience around real estate. And Sir is presently working as a AVP projects with IREO Private Limited. Earlier, he has worked with organizations like Unitech Limited, Ansals, and Punjab Chemi Plants Limited, and many more. He has been constantly delivering high quality projects ranging from luxury high rise group housings and land township projects, special economic zone projects, small projects, and many more in the NCR and Pan India region. A PMI PMP certified person he is, and is disciplined, agile, authorized training partner instructor currently. He is one of the senior and experienced instructors. His key strength lies in managing the integration process of project development from the stage of inception, design, coordination, execution, capacity building, monitoring, inspection, and see them both through completion and occupancy. Very good afternoon, sir. We would like to welcome you to the workshop. Harish, sir.
Yeah. Good
Can you
afternoon.
hear us?
Yes, yes.
Good afternoon, sir. So I would like to hand over the stage to you.
So imagine for a moment on the time machine, you are taken 30 years ago on a typical Monday morning. After having a wonderful weekend, you reach your office. A bundle of blue colored ammonia prints of the drawings are awaiting you to open them. You're not in the mood at this hour of time. You half-heartedly review, put your review remarks on the drawings, sign the circulation slip, and pass it on to the next reviewer. The next reviewer takes his or her sweet time, signs the circulation slips, and pass it on further. Good afternoon, friends. My name is Harish Kumar, and I am with you today to discuss challenges in construction industry, use of digitalization in the construction processes, benefits of BIM implementation, and slightly on Autodesk Build and few other things. Next slide. In all so far, I have overseen 7.25 million square feet of IT, SEZ, IT offices, commercial mall projects, and almost equivalent 6.5 million square feet of residential projects, and around 700 acres of plotted development, and the total project cost amounting to around 5,000 crores. Currently, I am looking after 2,100 crores of project. The first project you see on the screen is a Bear Shell project, residential group housing project. And in the next slide, you see is the Victory Valley project, which is, as on date, it is the highest habited building, occupied building. This is around 180 meters in height, 51 storied. And on the next screen, you see another project, which is Irio Skyon. It's a smart housing project. And few other projects are I did with Unitech Limited, which are in the next slides. By the name of, this is the, what you see is the Infosys Gurgaon office uh, for Unitech Limited. I also did uh, in the next slide, it is Google building. What you see on the left is the uh, actual building. What you see on the right is the 3D perspective of the same. And further moving on, a few mall projects, Garden Galleria, Noida, in Sector 18. And on the right is the Garden Galleria, Lucknow. And rest of the projects are through Ansal. In the next slide, these are urban farmhouses, floors in Ansal's Build Limited. And finally, in the beginning of my career, I did, on the next slide, it is Malibu Town. It is the first township on the Sohana Road. It's a beautiful place. If you see, I wish I could show you the same on the Google Earth. Uh, Actually, I love to showcase my projects. This project, you see, if you see on the Google Earth, it has it's so beautifully planned. On every street and there is a roundabout which is called the cul-de-sacs, and these cul-de-sacs are used basically for the parking of the for the occupants, and do the parties and functions. So moving on further, firstly I'll discuss what are the challenges in the construction industry. The biggest challenge in the construction industry is that still majority of it is unorganized sector. What you see on the table on the screen is, if 100% of the construction people are there, 48.92% of them are working in the unorganized sector. So this is one of the highest among other sectors, mining, manufacturing, as you see on the slide. Next. We still feel good when we deploy small time petty contractors. We try to achieve economies of scale. How we do it? We provide them the free issue material and recover that material cost through them. Then, as project managers, we still have the mental block. We keep sticking to the traditional way of working. See, if you can use the common data environment, CDE, to maintain thousands of drawings used in a particular project, why do we require to have the drawing register? That is maintained separately by each stakeholder, whether it is design team, whether it is execution team, whether it is contractor, right? And further, be it design development team, be it procurement, contract management, or project monitoring in the form of cost monitoring, cash flows, schedule monitoring, DPR, daily progress reports, daily manpower report, the pour cards for concreting, then formats and checklists before, during, and after the construction, and the records of minutes of meeting. We are still resorting to simple Excel sheets or hard prints for documentation. Next. Believe you me, we still have the system of advanced drawings, followed with infinite number of GFCs, maybe up to GFC 1 to GFC 20. What happens is that advanced copy of the drawing is sent to the site. The most experienced man sitting in the site will give his consent. Everyone will follow what he says. Now comes how to make the coordinated services drawing and how to read it, how to maintain it. It is still considered the job of an expert draftsman who will pick up input drawings from different stakeholders, different domains, architect, structure, to MEP, HVAC, electrical and plumbing, and firefighting. Set the layers one after or on the other, superimpose different drawing elements, and often text used by the different stakeholders are still left overlapping despite best efforts by that super skilled draftsman. And on top of that, what happens? Either these coordinated drawing is not sent to site, or if sent, that heavyweight site champ will refuse to follow it. He'll cite, इन लोगों को तो practical knowledge ही नहीं है. He'll say it is incorrectly made, or he'll say that it is difficult to read. It is so jumbled up. What he'll do is he'll use his own wisdom to create the coordination in small chunks as the work progresses, and finally, just to blame the design development team finally when he's stuck. Either what will happen is duct is not maintained at the mandatory 8 feet clear height from the basement floor, or what will be done is maybe a basement drain channel is overlooked, skipped, and instead on the floor a slope is made in a haphazard manner and directed channelized towards the nearest drain channel or the sump. Finally, what happens is basement is flooded whenever there is sprinklers are uh, blown, or water comes through some other source. And further, to make the life of the project manager worse, there is a term called QMS, that is quality management system. So to make the life of the project manager worse, at times he needs to maintain all the superseded drawings, these from GFC 1 to GFC 19, till a specified period, even beyond the completion time, all as stated in the that company specific QMS, quality management system, or ISO procedures. On a lighter note, it's a different thing that the project team utilizes some of these drawings as GFL, that is good for lunch drawings. Now next, let's talk about the as-built drawings. My experience of working in top Indian real estate companies has been, rarely do we make the as-built drawings in the word and deed in as truly as the as-built drawing should be made. What we do, we simply replicate the final version of the GFC, the soft copy. We change the title of the drawing to look like the as-built drawing, and voila, the contractor is eligible to get the completion certificate, and he is eligible to get the every final payment released. What follows next is the whole lot of findings in the form of discrepancies that are highlighted by the facility management team, the O&M team, often assigning faults on stakeholders that include people from the concept stage or the design stage to the construction stage to the handing over team. What happens next? A very seasonal organizational head steps in. He'll pacify all these people. He'll say, it's good that no one is owning the labs. Let's make a lesson learned register, or learnings from this completed project, so that we'll take care, we'll not repeat the same labs again. This is a complete eyewash. This lesson learned register is simply kept in the repository. Nobody looks at it again. So these are some of the challenges. So how BIM helps? Next slide. The building information modeling is a step ahead of representation of the geometry, aesthetics, and functionality of any facility. Maybe a building project, a township project, any infrastructure project, from the traditional way of two-dimensional to the three primary special dimensions X, Y, and Z, that is 3D. And if we add time and schedule to it, it becomes 4D. And if you add cost to it, it becomes 5D, and further to the operational and management and sustainability. However, in BIM, the aim would be to extract the 2D drawings from 3D, not the vice versa, not to create a mere 3D model from the 2D drawings. Now, BIM helps us not only in better planning and schedule optimization, but it also gives us a better preparedness in terms of next steps during any life cycle of the project, starting from design to construction to the O&M stage. So what you see on the next slide are the different stages of the level of development. Yeah. So what you see is the LOD 100 to LOD 500. On the left is different domains: architecture, interior, structure, HVAC, plumbing and firefighting, electrical, etc. A few things are done in LOD 100, then LOD 200, then LOD 250. Class detection, class check is done up to this stage, and then 300, 350, 400. Another class detection is done, and then finally 500 as built model is prepared. Next slide. Now, in a view to ensure the smooth functioning of the BIM process, every stakeholder is expected to deliver in line with these below mentioned delivery metrics. In the first LOD stage 100, that is called the conceptual model, we have design and engineering consultants. What they'll do, they'll exchange the concept level design information. The next is the early DD stage, early design detailing stage, wherein it is LOD 200. These design and engineering consultant will exchange the early design detailing. Further, there is a LOD 300, which is pre-coordination model. Again, these design and engineering consultants, they'll exchange the detailed models and they'll do the inter-services coordination. Further, LOD 300 includes the class-free coordinated models. Next is the stage for the documented model, which is LOD 300 again. This is for providing the tendering and estimation. So you see what I showed you in the beginning. The first slide was a circulation slip, wherein the project architect passed on his reviews, comments, that bundle of drawings to the next person who is the structure guy, then to the next person who's the electrical guy, then to the next person. Everybody takes his own sweet time, but these guys, what we see in the next is the pre-construction stage, which is when the contractor is into the picture. So what he does the constructability check. He also sees the same model and he does the coordination check also at his end as well. This is in LOD 350. On step 7, it is shop drawing stage now. Once this constructability check is done and updation is done in the drawings and documentation, then we move on to the stage of making the shop drawings basis the actual construction, actual structure, whatever is available, basis that how our particular element will fit in. Let's say it's a facade drawing, as per the beams, as per the columns, how the facade elements, how the panels will fit in. He'll make the coordinated shop drawing on that basis, and finally the construction will happen and the as built model will be prepared, and this will be LOD 500. So who does it? All the design and engineering consultants, contractors, and trades people do it. And this is used for the future references for the operation and management team. So all the stakeholders are involved on the same model, uh, with no lapse in time or any uh, miss on any part. So moving on further. Now let's talk about the digitalization in construction industry. Uh, for a builder or seller, if you are a builder or a reseller, now you can let your prospects explore your inventory digitally and shortlist the ideal flat for them using a plethora of filters, right? So second floor or 22nd floor, east facing or west facing, 2 BHK or 3 BHK, finished or raw, let them handpick their dream home. So Pallavi ma'am, can I click the
Sir, you
link?
can share your screen. I'll stop sharing.
All right, okay.
Yes. I have stopped the sharing. You can share your screen.
Sure. Yeah. So I'll click on this link. Is my screen visible?
No, sir, you will have to reshare it.
Just a moment. Is it visible now?
No, sir.
So your screen is visible, but we can only see the PPT right now, not what you're sharing apart from that.
Yeah, I have just opened the PPT so far.
Yes, PPT is visible, sir.
Okay. Thank you. So I'm so sorry, I clicked the wrong link. Just a moment. Yeah. So I just wanted to show you this 3D interactive tool for real estate. I hope it is visible.
No, sir. We are seeing a blank screen. So I request, sir, you just exit out of the PPT mode and then share your screen, complete screen.
All right. Okay.
Otherwise, it will not be visible.
Is that okay now?
Yes, sir. Perfect.
Okay. So this is a 3D interactive model. What you see is a site plan wherein we have different towers. I'm hovering over the first one of the tower. It is called A block. Below that, it is showing the information of the A block, which is which shows the tower configuration: 2 BHK, 3 BHK, 3.5 BHK, ranging from some square feet to 1300 square feet to 2350 square feet. And there are total 96 flats. Some of them are booked, some are mortgaged, some are available in that. If I hover on the next block, it is B block. It is also showing the similar information. And in the rest of the blocks, C block, and this block is E block. It is not open for sale. It is probably the work is under construction. So is in the D block, and there is a club at the end. So what I'll do is I'll just uh, click one of them. And if you want, if I want to see, let's say I want to see on the 9th floor. So this is a typical plate on the 9th floor. If I see everything is red in it, so I'll move back to the master layout. I'll check another floor. Let's say it's the 8th floor. So here I see one of the block is having the green. So there is an availability. So this is the layout. This is a unit plan. I can have the virtual tour of the same. I can see the isometric view of the same. So I move back. I take the virtual tour. I can see. And now I can further compare with the some other similar available unit as well. I add to compare. I click add to compare, and then I move out of the screen. And again I go to the master layout. I click some other tower, and again I see, let's say I want to see on the 7th floor. I see something is available here. Again I press this button, add to compare. Now there are two things to compare. It is the same thing as we do in on Amazon or Flipkart. We actually compare items. We add to the list and then compare. So we see this is first flat, this is flat number A801 and another flat, and on the bottom we see the different specifications. Both are west facing. Plinth area is 1364, plinth area is 12646, and there are other parameters as well. So in this way, we'll boost our customer engagement manifold. Once shortlisted, you can put the flats to comparison side by side and make the booking decisions faster. So next I'll move on to the back to the PPT. Now let's see a difference between the traditional cost management and Autodesk Construction Cloud. So I'll show you the conventional way of capturing the change orders and variation items. This is a typical Excel sheet wherein the entries are put in one by one. See on the first column, we'll see the nature of work, name of contractor, what was the award value, then the variation statement, the statement date when it was received from the site, what was the value when it was signed, then estimation team checked it, then it was checked by the billing team, then the project coordinator or the project controller checked it, and it was signed from the billing, and finally it was signed from the COO. So let's say on a typical date, it started from, let's say, 21st April. Let's say it started on 23rd November 2017. It took 17 December. So almost a month's time it took from one table to another table. So this is a traditional way of working, which mostly people carry out. So if I take you to another statement, which is cash flow statement, what we do in this is we put the item description, contractor's name, then original contract value, then updated contract value inclusive of these variation items, change orders, etc. And then up to a particular date, how much billing is done against that particular work. Let's say if I say this Aztec waterproofing work, so original work was 41 lakhs. It after variation, it was again the same, and till a particular date the billing was done for 26 lakhs. Balance amount is 41 minus 26, 14 lakhs. And projected balance, it may or may not be the same as the balance value. Maybe whatever was awarded at that point of time, it was with some rate. Later on the rates increased, or later on the rates decreased. So maybe the projected balance cost may differ from the actual balance, and then the spread of the same spread across the actual tenure, maybe April 19 to December 19, this balance amount is spread like this. So this is how we do it traditionally. Now let's go to the Autodesk platform. So let me open the Autodesk platform. Just a moment. So this is a typical project wherein all these input items are taken from a basic Revit model. The budget is prepared. We have the main contract in this. So it has again the same format which is traditionally made. But what is the difference? The difference is that uh, different stakeholders are sent that Excel sheet, and they take their own time to fill in that information. Let's say design team, they fill the information regarding the cost of their consultants. The site team, they'll fill the information regarding the cost taken by the contractors, or the procurement team, they'll fill in the inputs about the suppliers, and the contract team will input the cost which is awarded. So what happens in this common data environment is everybody is inputting at his parallelly at his sitting at his on table. So nothing has to be sent across to the individual stakeholder. They start filling in. So if we see this budget item, so on the left it is a budget code, budget name. Again, these are the different items, starting from excavation, filling, brick masonry, and whether it is a supplier contract, what type of supplier contract it is. Original budget value was this. Then there was some management reserve that was passed on to the original budget in the form of internal budget transfer. Then some changes were suggested by the owner in the form of different specifications. So let's say if we see here, some grade was changed, or some uh, this panel door was type of panel door was changed. So ultimately the original budget was 57 lakhs 47,319, and 23 lakhs 15,000 was the approved owner changes, and ultimately the revised budget becomes 80 lakhs, right? And then again in the same format as I showed you earlier, some amount is committed out of this, and now the projected cost becomes this is the actual cost which is incurred so far. And it has a step ahead of that information, that Excel sheet. We can provide the forecast variance also, and we can provide the earned value, other parameters like earned value, cost variance, and performance indices as well. So this was in the budget. So we can also capture the cost payment application as well, whatever the cost payment is due, and what is the paid amount, and what is the balance, right? And this is a change order information. So whenever there is a change order, so all these things are interlinked. So I'll request Pallavi ma'am to take over further and to explain you in detail. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Please, I think sir has very well explained all his works and his journey, and how these construction challenges are there, and building information modeling can be one of the solutions. So, and sir has also set a pace for today's topic of discussion, which is around cost management in ACC platform build. So to begin with, just for the people who were not there earlier, we'll again just take a short overview of Autodesk Construction Cloud Build platform. So in Autodesk Construction Cloud, we have three different modules that we work on, that is from different design stages, maybe at the design stage, at the pre-construction stage, and then at the construction stage. So we have Autodesk BIM Collaborate Pro, where most of our design consultant teams, they work with inter-team and intra-teams. We have Autodesk Takeoff, where mostly our cost estimators or quantity estimation teams, QS team work, and most of their quantities are taken off from a 3D cloud-based environment. And then we have the construction phase platform, which is Autodesk Build, and it is an extensive platform under which we are able to manage a lot of things such as project management, quality and safety management, which we discussed in our earlier sessions in this series of workshop. And our today's focus will be around cost management, that is how are we creating contracts, how are we managing those informations, what are the settings that we have in the system, what are change orders and how are we managing those type of change orders, how do we generate our regular monthly bills, also in layman terms known as RA bills, and how are we even forecasting our cost data. With that, we will also see towards the end that how are we closing out our projects on Build platform, wherein we'll see that how at the project management level we are able to see the final set of information and generate number of reports. So to start with, we will talk about Autodesk Docs, which we covered in our first session, which is a document management platform wherein most of our information is organized, distributed, and shared in files in a format where a folder structure is there, where all the stakeholders from different teams can come together on a single platform and share a secured sense of an environment information management. So we have document control, versioning, which is hundreds of revisions and hundreds of duplicate files that we have. We can control that, we can curb that sense of mismanagement of data in this Autodesk Docs. And we also have the option of document approvals, where the traditional challenges that we have seen is that people from different geographic displaced locations are not able to get the approvals in time, or maybe are creating duplicacies, or they do not have the right updated information with them. So we can manage all that information in our Autodesk Docs. After that, we talked about Autodesk Build, wherein we started with project management tools, which helped the project management team and the stakeholders to build or raise multiple RFIs in the project, that is request for informations. They could create request for information with linking files and issues in the drawings and then circulate it to different team members. They were able to create submittals, which is more like your information for your shop drawings or the specifications. We were able to record minutes of meetings and create daily reports from site. Minutes of meeting is one of the important key factors that happens. A lot of n number of meetings happen in a month, and then a lot of follow-up has to be done. So managing all those informations on cloud becomes very easy. We then talked about, in that last session, we talked about quality and safety management, wherein we saw how on the Build platform, we can create quality and safety checklist forms, and various teams can come together and raise their issues and submit those forms digitally from the site also, because the tool comes with a mobile application. So from the team itself, people at site can fill in the information and attach images to it, and then set the information to the respective team members. And that can be communicated without having another set of duplicate communication through calls or emails, because it directly connects us with the process there in the build itself. So today we will talk more in detail about cost management, which helps the stakeholders to able to manage the budget of the project and the contracts. The stakeholders can create multiple payment applications, the monthly payment applications, both for the contractors, for the subcontractors, and the owners. We'll see how. And then along with that, they can do create forecasting charts wherein people will be able to see or understand where the cost might go in the project for a particular schedule of value. And Hari sir has very well in the beginning only have set it a pace that how Autodesk Construction Cloud is helping in cost management. So here, when we are here in the build platform, we simply will have to first select the cost management platform. This is again because to secure your data from other team members which are not required to be a part of your cost management activities, because the practice that we have is we tend not to share all the cost related information with all the team members. So this over here is the initial interface of cost management for your particular project. On this first screen, you will see the calendar or any related activities according to cost. Before starting for the project, we first need to set the information, that is the general settings in which units we want to work. So we can over here, as you see, we can change the names and date and create a default status for your unit of measurements. You will have to set up your companies in the cost management platform. You would have to set up your stakeholders, who all people are involved in the project, so that you have the immediate information with you. Simple general settings, so that if you want to allocate the budget to more than one contract, those kind of information. These are all internal decisions which are made by the team members and then updated here in the platform. A simple rounding of detail of how you want to round up your data. Maybe it has to be accurate to the extreme level, or it can be rounded up like this. So those activities can be done. These important informations are very important when we are creating our contracts, when we are mentioning all our information. So the retention amount that we have for different type of projects or different type of contracts in terms of work and material. So we can put these values with identifying even the tax formulas. So different companies use different tax formulas or various taxes to be implemented on certain bills. So multiple tax formulas can be created and assigned to different bills which are there according to the requirement or the vendor or the subcontractor. You can add more bills just like this. So there are options available with you in the platform to create those tax details. Then you see what we are doing is, as this is a document related platform where your information needs to be managed. So all your information is getting collected and getting stored in a certain format in certain platform, where you are creating a folder again in your document management, and all its information is getting stored in an organized format. So that means you can share your information again through the same platform and not changing it. Now, for example, the work schedule, number of days, working hours, and even this is very important if we discuss, because over here, what we are doing is the language that we use in the organization might be different for the companies to manage. So in the platform of cost management, you can assign your own customized name to the tabs and create that order and hierarchy for your communication in the teams. If we go ahead and we see the other settings which are there in the platform are the budget settings. So before we start with the budget settings, I would like to make you understand that cost management works in a process where the contractor is managing the owner, that is his budget, and is managing the subcontractors, that is his cost. So we are first trying to manage the contractor is trying to manage his budget, that is the cost with the owners, and then the settings is done for the cost management, which is for the expenditure side, whereas for the subcontractor side. So we see over here that the first thing we are doing is we are creating a budget code. In this, what we are doing is, I'm sorry, is my voice echoing? Okay. So what we are doing is we are creating a budget code. These budget codes are created either in the platform, or we can also download these from the import format that Autodesk gives us. So this is an extensive list that we'll have to create initially in the project and then upload it here in the platform. Because for example, this is the Excel sheet that Autodesk gives us, the build platform gives us, it's standard formats. So we can adopt the standard format, for example, CSI master code segment or ICMS example that was given there. Or we can also create our own set of hierarchy from those or from our own, depending on the information or the project that we are making. And then we can bring this all information in the ACC platform. So these are specific, these are organizational decisions which are to be made and then brought on in the platform. So once we have got all the information there in the platform, what we do is we have created a code segment for which each line item will be assigned with a cost value. So over here, it says that we can manage these columns and we can add more informations to it. We'll do that maybe in the later stages or in the cost activity. Over here, we want to secure our budget. So we lock our budget and we create those values over here. Once we lock it, only the managers or the project owners here of the platform will be able to make any changes. These are view options if you want line or column activities to be shown. And then you assign some certain contracts, what type of contract we are using in the project. So we'll assign those contracts, we'll name those contracts, maybe the description is there with us, and we'll mark them active or inactive. And then these contracts can be bought here in the platform in the form of smart documents, either PDF or a smart documents, which keep on getting updated with certain pre-filled information already present in the cost management platform. So for example, this is a sample from the Autodesk where we see a main contract. So if I stop here for a while just to explain the process, what's happening here is it automatically will take these information which are there in the brackets. So we can create that set of information. Autodesk allows us with that kind of changes in the format. Once we create these, information will get pre-filled on their own, and we'll get a format where we just have to send our contracts to our owners or maybe some subcontractors and get it approved. So over here, as you can see, all the information that we just gave in the general settings or in the budget code will be automatically there in the document over here, and we can then submit our documents. Similarly, we can have multiple type contracts, and then we can select which one is the default, and we can download and make our set of changes as well. And similarly, this is another budget payment application. Now there are budget payment applications. This language says that now we are creating monthly bills for our owners by contractors. So this is again a bill format for our monthly bills, which is there. We know that what tax formula that we have used, so that value will be taken, and then their signatures, and then the values will be pre-filled in here from the budget that we have created. After that, if we go to the option over here, so we'll see that these are few dates which we want to add on the first home screen of cost management. If we want to see the main contract start date or end date, just to have the overview of all the project which is there. So we can edit these kind of informations, we can edit these names and all the information will be present with us on the initial home screen. So now when we talked about budget settings, that was the communication from our contractors to our owners. Now in the cost settings, we'll see the same set of information being managed for our contractors communicating to our subcontractors, to our and for here again the same thing. When we are managing our subcontractors, there are a lot of expenses, there are a lot of ways in which we would like to codify our information, our cost, so we can put this information. For example, in case of expense, what we are doing is we are trying to put a suffix to the value, and then we'll see that how are we getting that information. Over here again, we can manage all the columns related to cost and put that information here in the platform like this. And we are changing the cost columns over here with the information. You can change the formulas, you can put new formulas. As Harish just showed, we can create our cost variance and productivity analysis over here. These columns can be created. So now once we have created, we can either duplicate and edit those information, or we can add up certainly a new column itself. Once we have done that, these are again the contracts which are from the contractor to the subcontractor. So again, we can have multiple type of contracts which are in the active state that we can manage over here. And again, expenses are like internal and external expenses. There can be more expenses, operational expenses, travel expenses that are there in the organization, and you need to mark them, which are not mentioned in the budget or which are not defined directly in the budget. So those can also be there. Now, these contracts that we are creating or mentioning need some certain approvals from our GCs or from our SCs, and then even from our owners. So what we are doing over here is we are creating approval workflows similar to what we saw in our document management platform. So we can create a number of approval workflows for our cost payment application, for our contract approvals. And again, the same templates that we saw for our bills, we are seeing it over here. So for example, the same thing that you see over here is a contract sample for the supplier side contracts. So it is the same set of information. If you want to edit any of these, this is again customizable, and then you put that information. And then now when we talk about cost payment applications, it is the same thing when we saw to the communication for bills from uh, general contractors to subcontractors will be in this format. And then we have some default email messages. As soon as we send a bill, an email notification is also directly sent to all the stakeholders present in the platform. Now let's say our basic set of information is done and managed, and now need to create the general settings for change orders also. Change orders, when we'll come on change orders, we'll discuss how are we managing those set of informations as well. What are change orders? What are the type of change orders? For example, here there are this communication mentioned that what is a potential change order, a PCO, a request for quotation, RFU. So this is the language of this tool that we need to understand, and we can always customize it according to the communication used in our organizations. Over here, again, to codify the change order and the cost associated with it, we have set certain previews and coding standards. Over again, when we talk about change orders, so those change orders will definitely be having certain markup values, maybe addition cost, or maybe over the period of time, certain material value has changed. So those values can be added as markups and can be added into the bills again in the platform. And then we can categorize the type of change orders which are there. It can be a design change order, a scope creep, anything, maybe a budget transfer. So those informations can be pre-filled here. The cost item types, these are all there in the platform. Cost management is one of the most extensive tools in Build, which in itself cannot be covered in a day or two. We are trying to make you understand the entire process with this set of information over here. So again, we are creating an approval workflow for all your potential change orders, your owner change orders, subcontractor change orders, because there the communication is multi-directional. It is from owner to contractors to subcontractors, all the people which are involved in the project. And similarly, when we talk about the information, the management of that information is essential. So the permissions also plays an equal important role. Each stakeholder in the project will have to be given a certain set of permissions to again restrict who is using what information. So an extensive list of permission control is there in the cost management application, which the project owners or the project managers will be assigning the responsibilities to each person. We can always give a full control to the other stakeholders who are there and responsible for their set of works, or we can keep the 100% control with ourselves as well. In the activity list, you will see each person who has been working on the platform in the cost management, that what is happening, what all information is being required. And then we can also download these information in a CSV format for our internal discussions. Now here, the initial thing for cost management that we had to do is do the general settings. Now, when our general settings are done, we'll see that when we imported the cost budget there in the platform, and if we go to the budget tab now, how is our budget looking? So this is the budget code that we created. And when we bought that budget code here in the platform, this is how it looks. Each schedule of value becomes a smart schedule of value over here and defining the total cost of the project. So over here, we have the budget tab, we have the cost tab. So this is the interface where we see the entire activity related to the cost in our project. We'll see what are the pending change orders, the actual cost, the payments that have been made, the forecast, all the variances, with the formulas that we create or that information also. And since these tabs are so extensive, we also have immediate formulas just above them. So if we hover over them, we'll get that information. For example, if we click on this maintaining existing site, so this becomes a smart activity now, and each information related to that schedule of value is there present within the platform. So from the budget, since this is the space where we are contracting with our owner, so we have our main contract, which is a bunch of small subcontracts and then pertaining to one main project. So here we have the similar thing what Mr. Harish just showed. We are sharing it to you over here, that how are we creating from that same schedule of values the main contract. And we can again edit and manage these informations, not the cost, not the values, but then again we can manage the contracts according to our needs. We'll see what is the cost of that individual contract which is there. Again, if we talk about budget, the budget payment application is where the contractor is sending their bills to the owners. So that is the budget payment application. And again, if we go to budget, here on the top ribbon, we'll see budget payment application. So over here, if you just see this drop down, so it shows a monthly bill from 1st to 31st October 2021. And this bill shows you what is the information that was from the previous bill, what is the information that we are going to fill in this particular month's bill, and then we will be submitting this bill. So you see that this is the present period in which we are talking about, and then we can pre-fill the information or we can fill the information. For example, it is this much amount of work done, maybe the percentage or the quantity. So you can change the values, you can put this information, and then you can submit the bill. So if you see over here, as soon as we mention a value, both the ways the information is being updated, both in amount and percentages. And now if we simply click on the bill, we can submit this bill giving more information. If we want to give budget type to which person, we can now add the taxes that we talked about in the initial stages. We are adding those taxes here, and then the total cost is given to us. Once maybe the bill is paid, so you can also mention the bill amount which is paid. You can select who is the change order. If there are any change orders, you can add those change orders in the bill, and then the values will be added up. Over here, we are trying to add a tax formula that we created, and then the value will be changed like this. So you see now the tax is being changed, and then you can add multiple documents also in the project, giving you a more detailed set of information. So you are even trying to attach a cost payment application over here. If I take a pause, so if a subcontractor has given a bill and then the bill has been completed, the billing has been completed, now you want to share that bill with your owner also with their bills. So you can add those cost payment applications also in the same bill. And this is a e-bill that is there, so that will be there with you as a repository here in the platform, as well as over email. So over here, as you see, we are mentioning that amount in the CC, and then we'll simply click on send. So the approval workflow that we created will now be activated, and we'll see that the bill is in the submitted stage. So we can simply approve the bill or we can reject the bill, seeing that sort of information here with us. And then finally click on approved. We can change the status from here, or we can simply click the answer approved, depending on the person who is responsible for the set of information. Once we click, the simple option which is remain is the paid. So unless your bills are being finally paid, you are in the just the approved status. And once they are being paid, you can update these statuses over here with again the calendar information. Similarly, what we saw in the budget payment application or in the budget tab is the information is there with us in the cost payment application and the cost tab as well. So now in cost tab, these contracts are with our subcontractor, and each information is being divided further into your subcontracts, and then the final values are shown. Over here again in the cost tab, you will see individual cost of the original budget, and then the revised cost depending on your change orders, internal changes, all those changes, and then the forecasts as well. So the system is also creating these forecasts under which you can change the values, which we'll see in the later stages how. If you click on any one of the contracts, there you will see that these contracts were earlier being approved by the subcontractor, and each schedule of value you can check their individual values as well. So you know whether any line item is missed or any schedule of value is missed in the budget, and then you can raise a concern as well. Also, if you talk about the change order, when you add the cost over here, you will see that each change order is also being added to the contract and the total value is summed up. And you can add the documents as well. The pop-up bar remains the same with an extensive set of information. This is a billing period created for that particular contract throughout the project timeline. You can create them initially and then that information can be shared. And similarly, when we talked about our budget payment applications, we can also create our cost payment applications over here in the same manner. So if you see that one of my bills are in the draft state, and if you see it is the same format which was there in the budget payment application with the previous application billing and with the final the current application that we want to give. So the information that you put can be again in percentages or in quantities, depending on the inputs that the company wants to put the format in. And again, an extensive approval process. If we see here on top, from our contractors, information is first going to subcontractors. Subcontractors will fill and check the information, and then it will go back to the contractor and maybe to the PMC team or owners. In this phase, you can create an extensive approval workflow for your process and get the bills approved digitally. So if in this process, if you see each stage, it again asks you to send an email notification to the reviewers. You can add more people in the team to keep them in loop for the further set of information. So that is also possible. It's like a mail with CC format that is there. And with comments, we can simply approve the files. So now you see if we are on the same page where we earlier was in the cost payment, budget payment application and the paid format. So over here you see that it is in the approved or paid state. Now we come on change orders. So as Harish sir also explained that change orders here are the basis which as there are a lot of change orders in the project, maybe during the construction time there are a lot of things which get changed or needs revision on. So there is a complete process, entire process in the cost payment cost management in ACC, where we first create potential change order. Let's say there is a discussion that we might to put on that this can be a change order. So we put that information under potential change order. We asked for quotations from our vendors, and then we put it as a ordered change order or the owner's change order or the subcontractor change order, depending upon the situation and the site and the issue. So now, if we talk about the cost change orders, here we have a separate tab for change orders altogether. And the same information that we saw on our presentation right now is there with us on the platform also. So over here, if you see that I have creating a potential change order where the information is being put. So I first create the name of the change order under which there can be multiple schedule of values assigned. So this can be only an internal change order. That means no cost is implied, or maybe no cost impact will be there, or there is an additional cost which is required, or the contingency amount that we keep with us in the budgets is being added. So over here, for example, if I put the information of reinforcement, so that reinforcement can be added here from our budget codes, and we'll get that entire information there with us. Who's the supplier? What is the estimated amount? Now, when we talk about cost over here, so we'll see that the contractor is giving an estimated cost, then the proposed cost is given by the vendor, and the process goes on, and then we get the final approved and the committed cost, which will automatically keep on getting reflected to our main budget. So you see if this is the reinforcement, if we click on that again, so our pop-up tab is there, and then we can add those informations from this detailed platform as well. For example, we are changing the cost, we are giving what new cost is it, what is the quantity that we are changing or the cost that we are changing. And that information can be again sent to the people for review. revisions or for approval. For example, from this potential change order, I would like to now create a request for quotation from my vendor. So I'll submit this change order and it will immediately be reflected in my request for quotation again in the draft state. From here, I will have to submit it to my vendor. So all scope of errors and communications are being removed from the platform here itself. And then we can give the pricing and the value and then give the answers in the process here itself with the email notification. Now in the final stage, if we talk about cost forecasting, so every time, maybe every 15 days, we need to check what is the status of the project, what is the forecasting that is there, how much bill has been paid, what amount has been left, or if we need to create our loaded charts, maybe the front loaded chart or the rear loaded chart for the forecasting. So for each individual schedule of value, we can give a distribution chart on the platform. And then by clicking on that and creating on that schedule of value, if I click over here in the pop-up tab, I'll be able to see the extensive cost forecasting on that particular time period that we have created. We'll see what are the revised budgets, the forecast value, the total value. And with that, this kind of information, it becomes very easy for the project managers or maybe the cost management team to understand the entire status of the project. We can create this information in terms of either amount or percentages for our conveniences. And we can also manage this information if we go in detail to our cash flow tab. So all our cash flows, all our project duration cash flows can be created and managed over here. Each set of work, maybe the completed work or the revised work, can be selected, and that information can again be managed in a detailed format in the cost management tab. So for example, over here in this particular item, only the M25 gate concrete that we're talking about. So we are seeing that how the bifurcation of that weekly cost value has been given, and we can always edit them to change the information in our forecasting or to understand the changes if we want to check in our forecast. So as I mentioned, cost management tab is an extensive format with a lot of information in it. We have tried to give you a glimpse of what is cost management in Autodesk Construction Cloud and how can we work with it. To sum up with all the sessions that we have covered till now, we wanted to show you the power of the single platform wherein most of the information was unified, how all the data is connected on the single platform, bringing all the project managers, all the team members, all the stakeholders together, and the inside space where the home tabs were able to show you all the informations on a single screen, and the managers would not have to go to each and every person and call them and check the statuses of individual excels that sir initially showed. So as he mentioned that we had to create endless excel sheets, endless printed documents, and manage those. We saw how can we curb that data on a single platform with enterprise administration activities controlling the information as well. If the information sharing is important, the management and the security of information is equally important. So we also saw that how are we restricting the set of information to a certain person's authority or the need. So over here, I would like to take a pause and take the Q&As. Sir, are you there with us?
Yes, yes.
Yes. So maybe if we finally go to our Q&A session, we would like to take up few questions from the audience if they are there. So I will just see in the chat box if there are any questions. So there was one question which is already being answered. So how to define LOD levels? Is there any standard definition or various form, or it varies from end-to-end designer? So the answer to it is that, sir, LOD standards are available as per the global guidelines, level of detail and development. We generally call it level of detail. And then these levels are, as Harish sir also in detail explained, that there are levels in which we are creating this information, maybe 100, 200, 300, 350 to 500. So we have this information with us in ISO 19650 standards also. When we have that session with us, maybe sometime in a workshop, so we'll explain that in detail.
Yeah, to add to it, yes, it can vary from project to project, but the important thing is that any element which is progressed to a particular LOD, uh, only when all the requirements stated in the definition are met. So it is as stated in our BIM implementation plan. If the earlier requirements are met as per LOD 100, we can move to the next stage. So essentially it moves from concept stage to the as built stage on a particular uh, project. So, and it can
Yes,
vary
sir.
from project to project.
Yes, sir. So, as I see in the chat box, there are no questions further, which which brings us to the end of the series of workshop which we had around Autodesk Construction Cloud Build platform. And for closing, I would first like to thank Harish sir for taking out time for us and sharing his experience with the audience. All the journey that he could have shown in such a short period of time, it was there with us. And we, in the towards the end of his journey, we also, not journey that I would say, towards the end of his presentation, we also saw that how all these informations which are there, the traditional practices which are there, can be bought on the construction cloud platform. So after that, I would like to thank the audience for being with us throughout the series of the session. Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Hari sir.
Thank you.
Thank you. We will now close the session.